Meeting to order. We'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance.
KH gives it, or horse gives it.
Horace, good kids. Right. Hey, on you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Take a moment for a silent reflection. Thank you. All right, move on to item number C, meeting of note. Board faculty meeting, March 5th, 2:30 p.m. at the Garden City High School for attendance. We have another board faculty meeting, March 12th, 3 p.m. at Garden City Achieve. 4 more board members may be in attendance. And a board faculty meeting, March 26th, 7:45 a.m. at Charles Stone's Intermediate Center. 4 or more board members may be in attendance as well. Item D, approval of agenda.
Mr. President, I move we approve the agenda tonight with the following amendments. Item D1, item 8, new business. The Board of Education is asked to consider and approve a resolution consenting that the ordinance of the City of Garden City, Kansas pertaining to parking and traffic regulations on city streets shall apply to all roads, streets, and driveways of the grounds of all USD 457 schools within the limits of the City of Garden City, Kansas. Item D2 is to add item H5, new business. The Board of Education is asked to consider and approve training reimbursement agreement. Item D3 is to add item K2, executive session, matters related to employer-employee negotiations, whether or not in consultation with the representatives of the body or agency. Item D4, additional classified personnel action items. Item F3. Finally, item D5 is to add item K4, executive session, personnel matters for non-elected personnel.
Motion, is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, same. Motion carries. Item E, delegations and public comments. Is there any? Nope. Move on to item E1, building presentation, Horace Good Middle School. Amber Potts.
Thank you for having us here tonight. So I'm Amber Potts, Associate Principal over at Horace Good. We have a few students from our school. I'll let them introduce themselves, tell you a little bit about what they're involved in. Introduce herself, and then we can have a video presentation.
Hi, my name is Kelby, and I do volleyball, track, and basketball, and I help out with media literature at First.
I'm Chloe Jennings. I do volleyball, basketball, and track, and I'm only director of media.
Hello, I'm Isabel. I am part of the jazz band, and I did volleyball and cross country, and I was a part of media, and I'm going to do track.
Hi, I'm Mauricio. I do Scholars Bowl. I do band and jazz band.
My name's Jose. I do band, jazz band. I did soccer this year.
And I'm Miss Johnson. I'm the athletic director and the admin intern at Horace Good Middle School.
So the video presentation we put together just kind of to highlight Horace Good and the positive school culture we're trying to build, promoting student success, and really just with the 2 years we have with our Hawks, getting them prepared to be successful Buffaloes.
And eighth grade social studies students lead the school in saying the Pledge of Allegiance every morning. Our social studies teachers get ready for our Horace Good Middle School presentation. Something exciting we've done is we've brought the Pledge of Allegiance back. Every morning, JLC students take on the task of hoisting the flag. And eighth grade social studies students lead the school in saying the Pledge of Allegiance every morning. Our social studies teachers are diving deep into the flag with monthly lessons that examine the We are all in this together. Some things we do to help us stay together is student and athlete spotlights. My jersey, your impact, and of course, my bow, your impact. We've got goals. We hold early parent-teacher conferences once a semester. We also focus on making positive parent or guardian content. We are engaged and focused. We've got the data to show we are on the right track. We've got a community. Hutton donated a table saw to the woodworking class. Central Plains Equipment sponsored a t-shirt for all staff and students. HGMS students went to Garfield to cheer on students for Walk to School Day. HGMS students volunteered during the holidays. Media students volunteered at Leave a Legacy Race.
HGMS staff went to the food bank to volunteer their time this year too.
We've got spirit. Pep rallies, spirit days, go Hawks.
from Future Hawk. We are excited to meet you in August and help you in your life journey.
Do you have any questions for us?
What grade are you guys, each one of you in?
Are you all eighth graders?
Yeah.
All eighth graders? Okay. What's your guys' names? Did you introduce yourselves already? CTE brain, sorry. How many students attend Horse Good? Yeah. Upper 560s.
Being a larger school, what challenges do you face?
Crowded.
Getting to know
How do you guys think if there was sixth grade there too?
More chaotic.
Can I get a picture with you guys?
Yeah.
Board members and the
Hey,
students?
and come up here and get a pin too, okay?
What you do?
Right there, and then we'll come behind.
Guys.
Yeah, just right there. Perfect.
So that's not me. So you don't need it.
Sorry.
All right. Ready? 1, 2, 3.
Thank you. Thanks, guys.
Good job.
Good job, guys.
Hey, turn around and take.
Thank you, guys. That'll be good.
All right. We'll move on to item F, consent agenda.
Mr. President, I move we approve the consent agenda.
Been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda. Any further discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, same. Motion carries. On to item G, board reports. G1, ELA curriculum and literacy update. Josh Gottman.
You and me, bro.
So as we discussed at the last board meeting, I said that we would kind of share with you, our plans for the curriculum adoption for ELA next year will be the year that we review curriculum for adoption for the 26-27 school year. And, Heather's got kind of a slideshow that she'll kind of go through and the process that we're going to use to put that committee together, what that'll look like and kind of our plans for that. And then when we get done with that, we were asked to kind of put together some information to share on the blueprint for literacy that the state's organized. And so we'll share some of that information with you too. So kind of two presentations. We tried to get them into one for you all.
Since they both kind of cover English
They both
language
kind of
arts.
cover ELA, so it made sense to share both of them. So you want me to push the buttons for you?
Sure. Okay. So Kansas Department of Education is partnering with TNTP to kind of lead high-quality instructional materials adoption across the state, because it's really a focus from KSDE at this point that we've got to get higher quality materials in front of kids. So they've been leading us through this process, and this was the first product of that work. So go ahead and go. Our objectives are, we have a 7-year textbook adoption cycle, and this is the upcoming year for ELA adoption. So, that put it at the forefront for us. But in addition, it's a priority for us to select high quality instructional materials that are going to address structured literacy, which is a weakness in our current elementary curriculum, but also be materials that will challenge all of our kids. And we have a wide variety of kids who need enrichment down to kids who need interventions. And we need a product that's going to support all of those kids and move all of them towards being better readers and writers. Why adopt ELA materials? I've been in front of you multiple times to talk about our scores. We are consistently low, both on CAP and on FastBridge. So we've got to get better materials and tools in teachers' hands that are going to support them in improving our student literacy rates. Teachers also express concerns that our current instructional materials are not fully aligned to science of reading, nor our state standards. So that's especially true, I think, at the elementary level. We know that our balanced literacy approach that's in benchmark is not aligned to science of reading. I would stand behind our middle school materials a little bit more. My Perspectives is a strong product, but I do think that they have a better version in their 2025 edition that'll get better materials in teachers' hands. And then our teachers need high quality, engaging resources that address all the components of ELA: reading, writing, speaking, and listening. Especially writing, we hear a lot from teachers that the current curriculum does not have strong writing support in it. And that's definitely something that we've been talking to publishers about, is we've got to have writing support for our kids. Our timeline, and I actually have copies for you. This is our timeline of events that we want to see happen, partly to hold ourselves accountable to being done in a manner that will get materials here and in teachers' hands when they need them. And also gives you guys enough time to really get a chance to look at what our decision was and be able to support it. We have already started some of the work. We have a leadership team that has vetted several curriculums. We want to narrow that down to 3 that we'll put in front of a teacher committee starting in April. So our leadership team has met with 3 publishers already, and we will meet with 3 more this week to look at their products and kind of narrow them down to ones that we think will be good for Garden City, and then we'll give teachers the opportunity to go through those materials and narrow it down to the final one that they will present to our leadership team and then on to you guys. Oh, and Curriculum Council, I'm sorry.
Yep.
Goes to Curriculum Council first, then our leadership team, and then to the board. Responsibilities for the committee. We are asking for the teacher team that will be in charge of selecting to meet with a TNTP representative and KSDE to get a vision for this high quality instructional material selection process. So that will start on April 21st, which is our last district PD day. And then we'll set a timeline that works for that committee to meet with those 3 publishers and learn more about those materials. That could be in the summer. It may be evenings. I'm going to leave that up to the committee as to what works for their schedules. And then each building has 1 representative that will serve on that committee. You went through it so fast,
Did I?
sorry. Yeah, it's all right. I'm losing track of what I'm supposed to say. It's all right.
Sorry.
It's all right. Each building's going to have 1 representative that will serve on that committee that will be the primary for getting back to the building and making sure everybody in those buildings is informed of the materials or the curriculums that we're looking at. But the materials will also be available. I've talked to Karen about using a classroom at Abe Hubert, which is centrally located in the city. And all teachers are available to go and review those materials anytime. But if they have concerns or input, we prefer that that go through their building representative. Do you have any questions about that?
I don't know if you mentioned, how will you select those people? Is it a volunteer deal or?
I have asked for names from principals because we wanted people that are knowledgeable of standards, and will be able to commit the time to being there for each of the publisher presentations. It's not really fair if they only attend 2 of the 3 and then have to make a decision. So we need people that can commit to being at all 3 of those, that will take the time to get in and really deep dive into those curriculums, because there is a lot of material in those curriculums and it's a big time commitment. So we want to make sure it's somebody that will be able to go in and go through all those components and get to know the curriculum well before they make the decision. So that's the criteria we ask for from principals, and then they submitted names to me. I'm going to go face to face with each of those people within the next couple weeks, just to, see if they're willing to serve on that committee and get confirmation from them. And then hopefully we will have a committee. Our target date is March 28th to have commitments from building reps for every building.
How are you going about selecting your parent representatives?
Sorry.
That's
You
where I
went
was
through too
gonna go
fast.
with that.
We have an elementary one already. I think one of our committee members reached out to ask someone that they thought served on the committee before. And she says, no, I didn't, but I certainly would like to. So we have an elementary parent who has committed. I don't have a high school parent that's committed yet that I know of, unless Dr. Duncan has solicited, someone. We also are needing board representation. So if any of you are interested in being on that committee, we would love to have your insight on that as well.
We'd like to have 2 board members
Yes,
participate as well.
yeah. And we actually have 2 committees. Sorry. Josh, you should have let me run the clicker. We have one that's K-8, pre-K-8, and one that's high school. And that's just because TNTP and KSDE are leading that process for high school. So we kind of kept that separate because it's going to be led by outside groups. But we certainly will consider whether or not they want to be aligned to what we're doing at the pre-K-8. So I know I've had some of those members that ask if they could sit in on the publisher meetings for the elementary and middle school curriculums, because they want to know a little bit more about those curriculums to see if they want to align to what we're doing at the younger grades. In the past, they've used Springboard at the high school. Springboard is a college prep program put out by ACT, or the College Board, and it does not have middle school or elementary curriculum. So there was no way for them to align to what the younger grades were doing. So I am optimistic or positive about the fact that they want to know more about what's happening in the grades below them.
So you're down to 3.
We have it at 6 right now. We're going to narrow it to 3 before we put that in front of the teacher committee.
When you get to the 3 that you put in front of the teacher committee, can they provide a letter that there's no diversity, equity, included
Yes.
in the CRT?
Yeah, we've asked that for all of our curriculums. In fact, before I met with the textbook companies for our 6, I told them that would be a requirement before it got board approval, and none of the publishers thought that was going to be a problem.
Any other questions?
Good questions. Sorry, I ran through it pretty quick.
You wanna run
Okay,
that?
yep.
So, just a little background on the Kansas Blueprint for Literacy, a little history. So last year, during the legislative session, the legislators passed the Kansas Blueprint for Literacy. And so in February, they worked with the Kansas Board of Regents to adopt that as well. It was Senate Bill 438, and so basically it lays out some expectations for school districts and requirements that we're going to have to meet by 2028. The biggest piece to that is by 2028, all of our elementary teachers, all of our ELA teachers, all of our ESL teachers, anybody who's basically has anything to do with ELA will have to have the blueprint. Will have to have the seal of literacy on their teaching license. by the year 2028 in order to continue teaching. And so there's a few different ways to do that. The biggest way to do that is we're doing letters training with our staff now. And so if they've completed all the coursework in letters and successfully passed the test, then that will automatically give them the seal of literacy to their license. But there are some other avenues that they can go through as well. A big piece of that is working with the colleges. We're seeing that a lot of our, I feel like where we're at versus where the teacher classes that they're taking at the colleges, they're behind where we are a few years. And so I think that was a big push to make sure that the kiddos that were coming out of college, that they had the background in the science of reading to be able to teach that when they entered the classroom. And so that's going to be part of the new praxis exam that's going to be required for teachers when they take their praxis. It'll have a lot of the information on the science of reading, so that'll be part. So when they come to us, they'll already have that if they've successfully passed the praxis test. The objectives of the Blueprint for Literacy are to change the trajectory for literacy in Kansas, to help our students reach their potential. It establishes a framework for increasing literacy. There's a structure there, you know, with understanding the science of reading and having a background in the science of reading is really going to be the biggest component to that. The goals for it are to have 100% of our special education, all of the teachers, like I said before, that we want to have that seal of literacy on their license, and to have 90% of our third through eighth grade students reading at grade level by the year 2033. So, so the Kansas Board of Regents has established different colleges that are working with the seal of literacy, and so Fort Hays is our area college that has a center for literacy that's been established through the work with the Board of Regents and with the legislature. Dr. Dominguez and I went to Superintendent's Council early last month, and Dr. Broman Miller was there, and she spoke a little bit about the center. One of the things that she shared with us is that they're really not clear of what funding is going to look like. I think the funding that they were expecting from the legislature doesn't look like it's going to be fully funded. And so I think all of the plans and all the things that they had originally intended are going to be scaled back. I think she's still planning on working with us and putting some things together. We've actually got her coming out for the next 2 PD days to work with some of our staff. And so there's opportunities there, but it's going to be a lot less than what I think they had originally intended for us to be able to do. Is this me or you?
That's me.
Okay.
Okay, so after meeting with Dr. Miller, we kind of got a little bit more of a vision of the different things that this legislation is going to offer us. They talked about community events, and we didn't get a lot of insight on that yet. I have a follow-up meeting with her later this week where I might be able to learn a little bit more of that. We focused more on what professional development is available and instruction for our teachers that's available. So we have scheduled for our final 2 district PD days for Dr. Miller to come and work with our letters completers, which is approximately 30 to 40 teachers. It was originally 40, but with people that have moved out of district, I think we're closer to 30 now. But the letters completers will work with her on how to use the different assessments that we use within district to adjust instruction. So we've kind of focused a little bit more on that professional development piece, but they do offer some additional things for community members, parents, things like that, that may want to learn more about dyslexia in particular. They are offering micro-credentials on dyslexia. The way that they described it is that the micro-credentials course that they created is the how of literacy, how kids learn, whereas letters is the what you do to teach it. So it's kind of meant to go hand in hand together. And so she was really encouraged by how many teachers that we have who have been through letters and felt like this next step piece will be really beneficial for our staff. This micro-credential, they do offer courses, college courses that our staff can enroll in. It's equivalent to 15 hours of professional development. And at the completion of that, they will have a certificate or micro-credential in dyslexia. There's some stipends and some things, but it's very reasonably priced. I think they said $40 for the micro-credential. So they definitely are wanting it to be something that teachers take advantage of. And do you have any questions about that?
Or when I was at the ASB conference and kind of first heard about this, they talked about the component this has it, the 6 K-Board schools and teaching students the science of reading. So they come out of school with that. Is there a way that how do we kind of keep tabs on that as to when these course offerings are available? Not just so that we kind of understand as the years move on and students are graduating college and coming into our district to teach, so we have a good understanding of where they're at and learning that and what we still maybe need to work with them on as we hire them.
So I think that's gonna be, well, 2 answers to that, Andy. I think one, long-term, when we get to the point when they have to have that on their license, that's gonna be part of, so we'll know that they'll have that background because they'll have that on their license. And so that's gonna be an expectation that as they come out, the colleges are gonna be teaching that material so that they can prepare them for the praxis exam. The other thing is, I think we need to do a good job of working with Drew's office to make sure that we've got folks that are enrolling in that. So letters is gonna be really important, continuing to push letters. And then having those follow-up classes for them after letters, I think is gonna be part of that as well. And I think that really lines up with kind of what our professional development plan is moving forward. I mean, literacy is gonna be a focus. And so all those things related to that are gonna be critical.
And in talking to Dr. Miller, passing a praxis is not the same as what they're learning in letters or even through this micro-credentials
Right.
opportunity. I mean, if you pass a praxis, the cut score is usually around 50-60% accuracy. So, I mean, I would stand behind the fact that somebody who's passing a praxis probably doesn't have the same level of knowledge of somebody who's going through 2 years of PD in letters, or even this, which is about a semester of PD through the college. And there's a lot of application type stuff. You have to do case studies with students. What are our assessment tools? How are you using them? How are you changing instruction for kids? So I think these opportunities are going to be much more applicable to changing what's happening in classrooms versus just the praxis. But what you're saying from Kansas, the school board meeting that you went to, the state school board meeting, I mean, that's a discussion we've been having since all of this started, is that it's not sustainable for us to have 120 staff members doing letters training because they didn't get it when they were in college. So I think this is a pathway to make sure that we are getting that at the college level and they come out more equipped.
And one of the things too that the state's doing as far as letters, they're moving away from having presenters come to us and for our teachers to go have those days with them. And it's actually, we're going to train our staff to be letters facilitators within the district. So we'll have that knowledge within the district. And so I think it'll make for a little bit more continuity and a little bit more follow-up and the ability to support our teachers a little bit better with having those folks trained within the district.
And then also, just so the board knows, TNTP, we did work with them the last 4 years. Now the state is going to be working with them. So technically we're actually ahead of the curve on that. So we're definitely doing a lot of the already the literacy things that the state will be doing. We've already put in place, and then we'll just be seeing those gains and definitely getting our teachers trained is a huge component of that.
Pretty good buy-in from the teachers. Are they excited about this?
With letters. Yeah, the feedback that I got.
Sounds like it's a
been
little
really
extra
positive.
work.
It's a lot of work, but I
Yeah, I'll
think,
say, other
I think
than
they
the
feel like it's-
time consuming to take it, I think the
I
success.
think they feel like it's been really quality stuff, but it is very time consuming.
Can we go talk back a little bit on the adoption of the new ELA curriculum? The committee is gonna be formed by the end of March. Recommendation to the district won't come until December, so kind of what's the timeline in between there? What's gonna transpire through those 6 or 8 months?
So on April 21st, we're going to use that district PD day to have that high quality instructional materials training through KSDE and TNTP. At that time, I will meet with that committee and set some dates for them to meet with publishers. And I would say to really get a good understanding of the curriculum, we almost have to have half a day with each publisher. And we are a big enough adoption that they will come out here face to face and meet with our teachers and really dive into those materials with them. We did like 1 hour Zoom meetings with publishers on Friday, and it was not enough time to really, they were just kind of brushing over things really fast. But when we get that teacher committee, we need to have plenty of time for those publishers to really go through, show them the different components that they would normally just be talking to them about. So we either are going to have to commit to doing that on school days or summer. And I'm going to leave that up to that committee to make that decision. They know better than me what works for their time because we're here no matter what. So I'm assuming a lot of teachers don't want to do this in the fall because it's a hard time to be out of your classroom. So,
And the other thing I would say too is once you've gone through those curriculums and looked at that, then there's gonna have to be, conversations on the strengths and the weaknesses. And so analyzing all of those and having the committee really break down what they like and what they don't like about each curriculum before they make a decision. So it'll take a little time.
we also need to give them time to go back and meet with their teacher teams and get some feedback. Because people are going to want to have a voice. I just can't have a committee of 100 teachers and try to come to consensus. So if we can have a building level representative from each building, they can bring that feedback from their buildings or those concerns or those questions to this committee, and we can kind of work through them. So during that 6 months, we'll be doing things like that. It also gives time for those representatives to get into those tools because they're going to give us lots of samples. So it gives them time to go through and really look at those, get on the digital platforms, learn more about what's available there. So we just have to give them plenty of time to do that.
And it'll give teachers an opportunity to look at all the curriculums too, because even if they're not on the committee, they'll still have an opportunity to see all the materials and look through them themselves.
We kind of gave ourselves some leeway. I think we were starting to have those discussions. I don't have the timeline in front of me, but I think it was roughly October that we wanted to have a meeting where we kind of start trying to come to consensus, but we gave ourselves about 2 months to actually do that. Because we want to go to curriculum council in December so that we can come before the board in February. So again, if there's questions from curriculum council, we have some time before we come to the board.
Questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Move on to item G2, YMCA Dome update. Drew Tone, Chief Human Resource Officer.
So as a board, we talked a while back about the dome, and then you guys have asked kind of for an overview of, there's been a lot of things go on with the dome and a lot of conversation with the dome. And just wanted to go back and have an overview of the dome and the conversations that we've been having with the YMCA on the future of the dome and the use of the dome. And so getting with you guys tonight to have that conversation. I'm just going to go through the timeline. I just kind of put this timeline together just as a discussion point. And then after that, you guys can ask any questions that you may have on the dome. Chad was hoping to be here tonight. He tweaked his knee officiating basketball this past weekend, so he said he wasn't going to be able to make it.
just because his knee was hurting him a little too much. I did talk to Chad about this today. I wanted to go through this with Chad and make sure that the YMCA kind of understood what we would be presenting tonight and walk through step by step with him, just if he had something that he may want to put in there or anything he wanted to make sure we pointed out, that I also included that, so it was a fair timeline of the dome situation. So in January of 2015, January 12th of 2015, that is when we signed the original lease on our property for the dome to be built. October of 2018, the first original dome was installed. If you guys remember, that dome was only up a few days, and then that dome came down because of some structure failure inside the dome. Because on that original dome, the new dome has two membranes, an interior membrane and an exterior membrane. That original dome, they put it up with only one of the membranes, did not work, came down, and they ended up having to sue the company, got in some litigation, and had to take that dome down. And then in April of 2019, they finally had their grand opening for the YMCA dome. It was open a few days, and then the city shut them down for a while because of some coding issues. And then it finally reopened and has remained open since that 2019 date. One thing to note, by the time it actually opened, the 10-year lease was already almost 5 years old by the time the dome had actually opened. So we were halfway into the original lease of that original 10-year lease, the only lease we've ever had. May 6, 2024, Chad knew, the YMCA understood that the lease was coming to an end, and he reached out hoping to update a new lease and come to a new lease agreement. He said that they had financial difficulties, obviously due to the construction issues that they'd had, the lawsuit that they were in with the construction company of the original dome, the legal fees, they had electrical problems, they had flooring problems. And then if you can tell that April 19, it opened up, and then not even a year into it, the pandemic hit. So they, from the start, faced a lot of major issues with the dome itself. Chad indicated that they'd raised over $1.3 million for the project, and they were still losing on average $105,000 per year operating the dome over those 5 years that it has been operating. At that time, the YMCA offered the dome to us, USD 457, to be purchased. The desired agreement was for the district to take over their outstanding debt on the dome and for the YMCA to continue operating the dome. So we would take over the debt, they would continue to operate the YMCA dome and facilitate the YMCA dome. Obviously, you guys declined that. You didn't want to take on, they still have $1.3 million in outstanding debt on the YMCA dome. You guys obviously didn't want to take on that outstanding debt at that time. We let Chad know that. He said that they would continue to seek donors to help hopefully cover the outstanding debt cost. In June of 24, the YMCA indicated they were unsuccessful in securing those donors and expected to default in August of last summer. They explored several options, including a sell agreement with a local private school in town. At that time, we informed them that we would not be interested in any other third-party agreements of selling the dome to anybody else. In July of 24, with default quickly approaching, we had major concerns about what we were going to do with our activities at the YMCA dome. So we met with the YMCA to start discussions on a possible one-year lease agreement. We explored this 1-year lease agreement. The YMCA came back with a 1-year lease agreement where they would lease it at $79,000 per month to the district. We declined due to the drastic cost of that lease agreement. And on August 26th, they proposed a new offer for $745,000 for the dome and all the equipment. Again, we declined, not wanting to pay that much for the dome. A group of representatives from the district met with the YMCA leadership in November to try to come to resolution on the dome. I don't think any of us, I think we all wanted to find a way to make things work. The district, we did indicate that we're unwilling to pay a significant amount for the dome just because we obviously have our own facility issues that we need to deal with aging buildings, aging roofs, and with the possibility of grade reconfiguration and adding 6th grade to the middle schools. So our financial focus with facilities are on those things and not necessarily the YMCA dome, and we let the YMCA at that time know that. The YMCA had previously indicated that that they could sell the fabric of the dome for what they said around $200,000. And at the time, the district leadership asked the YMCA leadership to come back with an offer around that number, and it may be considered by the Board of Education. Shortly after the meeting, the YMCA dome HVAC unit failed. And when we went and had people look at it, they said it was in pretty bad disrepair and that replacement cost could reach as much as $500,000. So knowing that, we obviously had grave concern about even at $200,000, if we had to sink another $500,000 into the HVAC unit, that could be problematic. November 22nd, the YMCA came back with that offer that we asked for. They had an offer for $421,000, $375,000 for the dome, $46,000 for the equipment. The district obviously declined because it didn't fall within what we had requested. And now we knew that there were significant issues with the HVAC system. The HVAC system continued to go out in and out of operation throughout those winter months. On January 7th, the district offered $100,000 for the dome as is, and the YMCA declined. On January 14th, the district followed up with the YMCA, who at the time suggested if the equipment cost were included, the YMCA board might consider it. The district declined to offer any more at that time. At that time, the district requested a proposal from the YMCA on what they think it should look like. The next day, they came back with a new proposal for $216,675, $100,000 for the dome, $61,195 for the equipment, a fabric lease that they owe for $49,480, and back payment on the utility of $6,000. At the time, the district would take over all maintenance and repair. The YMCA would cover the cost of a preventative maintenance program for the HVAC unit, and the YMCA would have control from 5 o'clock in the morning till 8 o'clock, 6 o'clock at night till 10 p.m., and on the weekends, the district would have control during the school day from 8 to 3 p.m. We obviously declined that as well because of the lack of control and the inflated price. Finally, on February 6th, the district determined that we would not pay anything. We did not want to offer any money for the dome any longer, and we wanted to prioritize all available facility monies to be directed toward, in addition to KH, for grade reconfiguration and our current projects. Jennifer Cunningham was directed at that time to reach out to the YMCA and their board and tell them that we would take ownership of the dome if they would like, but we would not pay any money. And we would assume all expenses associated with the dome at that time. The YMCA could continue to use the dome, but use it as we currently allow them in the rec to through filling out building use forms. Other items of note that you'll want to remember, mid-June is the deadline for the structure to be removed if an agreement is not reached. The base and the footers of the structure must remain unharmed during the removal process per the contract. And if it is not removed by that mid-June date, contract termination date, the structure becomes the property of the district. If the district desires to have that structure removed, the YMCA, we can have it removed and the YMCA will cover the cost of the removal. So that's a 30,000 foot view of kind of the long drawn out process that's been the YMCA dome story. I know the YMCA, I understand what they're trying to do there financially, trying to recoup losses that they have in the investment on the dome. And that's our side of it. Some of you have been involved in the back and forth, but I know not all of you have. So we just wanted to get up here, let you guys understand exactly everything that has happened through the entire process. And then if I could answer any of your questions, if you have any questions that I can answer, I'd love to at this time.
No, I was asked about the parking lot and the city put that in from what we understand. Is that correct?
Correct. The parking lot and the lights, we maintain it. It was installed by the city and the lighting was installed by the city.
For clarification, it goes a little bit along Nathan's. So the base and the footers of the structures must remain unharmed in the removal process. Does that include the parking lot and the building in front?
Not the building in front, but the parking lot. The parking lot is our property, not the YMCA's property.
So just to clarify that, per the lease agreement, if nothing, so the Y has until June 12th, June or July 12th.
June 12th, I would have to go and count 180 days because I haven't done it with 31 days, 28 days.
The agreement, January 12th.
Yes.
To remove the structure, which is the inflated dome and the bathroom structure all the way down to, but not including the concrete slab or the footings it sits on. That's the way that the agreement, the current lease was written. That's their obligation.
Yes, their obligation per the contract is to take everything down to footer and concrete base level. So that would be the outbuilding with the bathroom and all that stuff and the dome structure itself, remove the HVAC units, and then there's the fencing that would also have to be removed. Yeah.
Are you aware of the status of the HVAC system or?
So it is currently operating. I know that I've heard that they've turned it down a little bit because of the cost. They don't want to have to pay their normal operating costs on the building while it's not being fully used. So the temperature in there is pretty low, but it is operational.
Can you speak a little bit about how the district has used that building for kind of day-to-day activities through the course of this lease?
Yeah, so originally when the lease was signed, we were supposed to have the building from 8 o'clock in the morning till 5 o'clock at night. At 4 o'clock, the YMCA can start using it in this current lease. The problem that we've ran into and the reason why we haven't got the use out of it that we probably thought we would have is because with current school facility safety regulations, During the day, they do have people come in and lift weights or jog on the track or play basketball, that we do not screen to come in. And because the lease isn't overly clear on whether that can happen or not, we just decided during the school day, we're not going to use it because we can't regulate who comes in and out. So currently, the only time that we use it is for activities after school. So basketball practice, volleyball practice. We do our baseball and softball teams will go up there and use that back area. But those are really the only times that we use it. Like I said, we would have liked to use it during the day, but because of safety concerns, we really haven't got the full use of it that we were hoping to. When I talked to Dr. Carlin and Mr. Hogan about the original intention, we really haven't got the full use of it that we hoped to, because the contract wasn't overly clear on that piece of it.
Drew?
I'm sure, oh, go ahead, John. I'm sure going forward, there's going to continue to be conversations with the YMCA. I'll make sure that you guys are aware of all the conversations that are continuing to happen on the dome itself. They have invested significant amounts of money as a YMCA on that. I'm sure they do not want to see that thing come down and want to find a way to make it work. You know, us as a district, it's had benefits for us. I think it could have, we had more use of it, continue to have benefits, but the thing that you guys are going to have to determine is at what price. Those benefits, at what price are they valued? So
Just for clarification for folks, the lease is related to the property is still owned by USD 457.
yes, so the property is owned by USD 457. The YMCA owns everything above the concrete. So we own footers and concrete. They own everything above the concrete. You can hear you, Martin.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, Drew, can you speak to any kind of warranty that they may have left on the HVAC system or the dome material itself?
They do not, and I want to make sure I'm not talking out of turn. I believe the HVAC warranty is up. So I do not believe they have any warranty left on the HVAC unit itself.
Okay, thank you.
What's the life expectancy of the dome?
So the life expectancy of the dome is kind of a tricky question. There are domes that have been around for 40 years. There's not domes in Western Kansas that have been around 40 years. So we're kind of in a unique area, obviously, with the wind, the climate. So they say at least 20 years, but it's hard telling with everything varies so much based on climate.
Can you speak to the discussion with I know the restroom facilities are used with the soccer in the city and things like that, so.
Yeah, the restroom facilities, we use those restroom facilities in talking with the middle school. We use them about 8 times a year with our soccer games that we host out there. They are used much more by the city of Garden City with all the recreation stuff that happens at those fields. Almost nearly every weekend from here in March all the way through November, there's going to be something going on Saturdays and Sundays at those fields. And when that happens, they open up the restroom facilities to the public. We used to have porta potties. We used to have restrooms out there that were removed when that structure was put up.
So to date, maintenance on the dome has been the responsibility of who?
All maintenance, all cost, anything associated with the dome is the YMCA's responsibility to date. Yes. The only thing that we have is use of it from 8 to 5 o'clock. They can use it. Everything is controlled by the YMCA. The locks are controlled by the YMCA. It is a YMCA facility that we can use from 8 o'clock to 5 o'clock. We've got some key cards that we can key in and out with. But it is a YMCA property sitting on our property.
And we've mostly used it from 3 to 5 for practices.
That's been the majority of our uses, 3 to 5 for practices.
But if I understood you right, had things worked differently, we would have maybe gotten more use out of it.
Yeah, had things worked differently, our KH, somebody asked about size of Horse Good. Horse Good, I did look, is at 590. KH is at like 420. That's as close as they've ever been size-wise. And it is creating a size issue for KH. And if we could have used it, or if we could use it from 8 to 5 without interruption, KH would have gym class over there. They could use it for walking, gym class, all kinds of things. But because of the security that we can't control, that's not an option.
Can you explain a little more? I understand, but for the people about how the use agreement, like between the rec or on our facilities?
What we do.
Yeah.
So all of our facilities, we have an agreement with the rec, the YMCA, the Garden City Rec Commission, the Garden City YMCA, and ourselves, where we do not charge each other for the use of our facilities. The reason being is because they need gym space and field space that we have an abundance of, but we also need things from them. The YMCA has a pool that we're graciously use, and then the Garden City Rec has baseball fields that we use from them. So because of that, we don't charge each other for use of facilities, just to make things easier and cleaner instead of having to bill everybody every time. We take care of our stuff, we maintain our stuff, we pay for our custodians, they take care of their stuff, they clean their stuff, they fix their stuff at those facilities in return. So that's essentially always been the agreement. We've never told any of the entities, no, you can't use. Anytime the rec has come to us and asked, hey, we need some basketball court space. You know, it may not be the most ideal basketball court space that they want, but we make sure that they have access to basketball court space. And the YMCA, the same thing. If they need court space or if they need field space, whatever it may be, we make sure that they have access to one of our gyms or one of our fields to be able to do their things at no cost to them. And it's been an agreement for, I've been here for 21 years. It's at least that old. I'm sure way older than so.
You speak to avenues that our students at KH will use for volleyball and basketball if an agreement isn't reached.
Yeah, so if the dome comes down, we'll go, another thing that, prior to 2018, we did it for ever prior to 2018, since KH was built, they've always only had one gym. So we've utilized most of the time, Florence Wilson has a nice gym with a side entrance that's separate from the rest of the building, where we've gone over there and we've practiced and we've played games over at Florence Wilson. It's a nice wide gym, so we've moved bleachers in and been able to play volleyball there, been able to play our B-level basketball, B-level volleyball games at that facility, while the A-level stuff, or sometimes they would split it up 7th grade, 8th grade. The same with practices, they could practice over there. A lot of times practices weren't done that way. A lot of times practices would go in the morning. You'd have a group, maybe 7th grade in the morning, 8th grade after school. But we've done it for years. It's nothing that we haven't done before, been successful doing before.
Did you put their monthly actual operating with utility bills and?
Yeah, so it's kind of varied. We do have, I do have an Excel spreadsheet with all of those things on there. It's anywhere from, on the low end, $7,000 a month to the high end, depending on what you want to include. If you're including custodial fees and all those, you know, on the high end, it gets up to 15,000 a month.
I'm assuming that can be insured.
Yeah, I talked to Iron Insurance. They currently insure it. And so if we were to take it over, he said it's not an issue it's not overly costly to insure.
What do you expect the utility bills would be monthly on average, or annual utility costs would be? Let's say if we took possession and continued to.
I think it would be closer to the $7,000 to $8,000 a month. Now, that's not including inflation, and I don't know what gas prices are gonna ebb and flow or electrical prices. But that's what we had budgeted when we kind of had this discussion, was around $7,000 a month. Obviously, it's a dome with a blower that has to always blow to constantly keep the thing inflated. So there's gonna be, as opposed to a traditional structure, you don't have that in a traditional structure. A traditional structure is also, and Andy, you would know this, is probably has a better R value in a traditional structure. I think he said this was an R16 or 18. If I remember right, traditionally a gym would be insulated better than that. So.
We had talked with grade reconfiguration and all of that. The conversation had been building a more permanent structure at some point there at KH, right?
Yeah.
If we were to proceed down that pathway, that was the discussion.
Yeah, and that's kind of why we put the brakes. You know, if you guys remember when we pulled back the offer altogether and said, you know, we'll take it, but we're not paying anything for it. That's really when you guys said, you know, if we're gonna do great reconfiguration, a second gym is gonna have to happen at KH. And so we need to make sure that we know the cost of the classrooms, you know, and what we need classrooms wide with. I think we talked about 16 classrooms. We know we have a good idea of what that cost is gonna be. So we want to make sure we take all capital that we have and invest it in that, as opposed to a dome that maybe we don't need.
Monthly utilities on a, you know, permanent structure is better than a blower that runs 20.
No, yeah, it's less, yes.
I think Andy had said at one time, but those footers can hold a permanent structure.
Potentially. I mean, I was in all this looking into it. I had seen the foundation drawings on it, and they look very similar to what I would expect fountain footings to be on something that would support a wall, at least a single-story wall. So, I mean, there's a lot. Obviously, we'd have to have a structural engineer look at it, but I mean, at first glance, they kind of look like something that may be able to be repurposed, but we definitely have to look at it.
Well, it's been a process, to say the least, and I'm sure we've got more to come. It's not over yet. We've got all the way till the middle of June until we have a resolution on this. So Chad has indicated that he thinks they'll probably take it down sometime in May when it warms up. They're kind of waiting for it to warm up a little bit before they start to make plans on how they'll take it down. So that's where we're at with it.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Thank you.
Thanks, Drew.
Thank you, Drew.
Move on to item H, new business. H1, the Board of Education is asked to consider and approve following curriculum council items. Josh Kyman, Deputy Superintendent.
So we have 3 new courses for you all tonight. One thing I noticed when Suzette, I'm gonna have to talk to Suzette, when she typed up the memos, we've got them for 0.5 or 0.05 credit instead of 0.5 credit. They should all be a half a credit, each of these classes. They're all of these classes are to realign state requirements for our CTE pathways. And so that's what all these courses are. And so the first one is business law, and that's going to be for the business management pathway. And then the second class would be practical law, which would be for the legal pathway. So law enforcement, security, things like that. And then the last one is technical drafting 2, which would be for the industrial arts pathway. So they're all to realign our CTE pathways.
And are these completely new or are we just renaming them?
They're not new courses, so they're going to be restructured is my understanding for the pathways. Mr. Norby, is that correct?
Yeah, and some of them are, like the tech drafting is one we already have.
Yeah.
It's eligible as a semester course and so we're just kind of trying to get things that we currently have in line.
So that's why that when it wouldn't cost the district, there's no fiscal note to it because it's all courses and curriculums that we already have. Other questions?
Are you looking for a decision tonight or?
If you want to do it tonight, that's fine, but if not, it'll be on the consent agenda for March. I've kind of told curriculum council that that's kind of the way that we're going to do that, so that I would share this with you all, and then it will just go on the consent agenda for the following meeting. So I'm fine with that, Randy, if you guys are. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item H2, the Board of Education is asked to consider and approve bids for Gertrude Walker Elementary School and Plymouth Elementary School roof repairs.
Back in the fall, we discussed and we're discussing that Plymouth was actually in the long-range plan to get a new roof, and that Gertrude Walker was up the next year, in 26 to get a new roof. But with those two campuses also in the conversation, that's still ongoing and kind of waiting, through the process and still unsure where that was. The board's discussion and our decision and kind of thought process moving forward was to look for a 3 to 5 year fix, with the roof problems that we've got on those two properties. And so what we did after instruction or guidance from the board is pull together all of the 3 roofing companies locally. And that's the 3 that bid on this particular project. And we all met up at these 2 roofs and toured those 2 sites, discussed what would, if we were looking at a 5-year fix, what we would do if they were their buildings. And so they all gave some input. I designed then an RFP that was sent out for each of those properties. That RFP is included. One thing that I want to point out on the RFP for both of these is that items 4 and 5 in the middle part of the page, I did ask for the contractor to provide a minimum 3-year material warranty from the contractor or by the manufacturer, and the contractor to provide a 3-year labor warranty at a minimum as well. So with that said, we got 3 proposals back. One of them was substantially higher than the other 2, and that was the diamond bid. So then the other 2 that we had to look at were DV Douglas and Weathercraft companies. Weathercraft specifically put on theirs that this does not include any warranty. They were the low bid. I think the one at Plymouth totals, I think that's right around 14,000 is where that bid ends up, $14,050. DV Douglas's bid on that particular property, sticking to the other piece of paper, is $16,275, so a little over 2,000 higher, but they have a 5-year warranty for both of those, material and labor. And then Weathercraft's bid for Gertrude Walker was $38,350 with no warranty. DV Douglas's was $42,500 with the 5-year material and labor. So as I look at them, and the recommendation I put in the memo that y'all had was to utilize DV Douglas because of the 5-year warranty that's included. It is a little higher, but I'd recommend that we do that, kind of like the same agenda item. You can certainly wait and approve this at next meeting if that's what you would like to do. But also, the quicker if we can approve this, the quicker that we can make sure we get it on their work schedule as well.
Well, it's a long time coming. We've been talking about this for, I think it's time to move on.
You looking for a motion? I'll make the motion on the recommendation of using DV Douglas for the two roof repair projects at Ply Mill and Gertrude Walker.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the bids, DV Douglas for both roofs at Kirch Walker and Pine Mill Elementary. Any discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, same. Motion carries. Mark?
Hand up.
I said I'll stand up, yeah. Item H3, the Board of Education has to consider improved training products and services quote from Avid Center for the amount of $127,452 for September 25, September.
The quote that we have, and I've got Mr. Norby up here in case there's any questions specific to the high school, but this for all of our secondary schools for both middle schools and Garden City High School. Avid is one of our board goals, and we put that on a 3-year cycle. And so our PD schedule, that's one of the dates. We have those 2 days in September that we've allotted for specifically for Avid. And so that's what that would be. Any questions for that one?
So for those of us that are newer, what exactly does this do? Like, what is the training for?
So, go ahead, Steve.
Well, AVID stands for Advancement via Individual Determination. And we've been in our district using AVID strategies at the high school level, at least for well over a decade, probably close to 20 years. And it's a program that provides professional resources and training to teachers to target first generation college students, which we have a lot of, and students that need support in taking honors, AP, dual credit courses that they may not usually have qualified for, providing extra tutorial classes and things for them. They provide training for our staff during this. And so in the past, we used to send 20 or so of our teachers off to Dallas or to Denver every summer, rotate them through to get them trained in these techniques. And when it became a board goal quite a while ago, they made the commitment to let's make sure all of our teachers, or as many as possible, get trained in these techniques. And so we started putting them on the 3-year rotation. This would be the 3rd time that we've kind of dedicated that in our calendar to do. So part of this, they provide us more professional development than just this every 3 years. We get monthly resources from them. We are certified through them as one of their AVID schools. Garden City High School is certified AVID school-wide. And their professional development and their certification process really helps us with things that lead towards the same kind of goals as our post-secondary success rating we get from KSDE. A lot of those things are all aligned. So what we do for AVID helps us in those post-secondary success star ratings and things that you get from the State Department. So it's just part of our journey in trying to get kids ready for what's next past high school.
How long do they have?
I'm gonna say probably 2010 or before. I started here in 2007 and AVID in the district, in the central office, and I think AVID, Deb Jarmer, former career and tech ed coordinator, brought that into the district between that time and probably 2010 at the old high school. Yep, and like I said, at that time, in order to get your teachers trained in these techniques and things, you had to go to Denver every summer and quite prohibitive for a lot of teachers to take off for a few days and go there, or Dallas. And Avid is really big and started really in Texas and in California, so it's just something that has been a good thing for us and our teachers. And we've kind of just grown with it through the years.
The package shows that we use like 7 different parts of Avid. And that has a unit price and then times the classroom, I'm assuming, to get our total cost. So have we added any components this year compared to last year? Are we using the same? And then how does this cost compare to Avid in the past?
I don't know how it compares.
I looked it up, and I meant to write it down and I didn't, John. So I can't give you the exact number, but I believe it was like 114 or 115, the last time we did it. So it's a little bit higher, but I mean, with inflation over the last 3 years, I don't.
Would it be about the same number of seats?
Yeah, yeah. And then the course offerings, and so those are all different course offerings. And so, teachers can take a different course. Like if I'm a returning teacher, they may take one course this time, and then in 3 years, they may take a different one. So they have the opportunity to take more than one.
They have a lot of different strands. They have some for administrators, some for language arts teachers, some for elective teachers, math teachers. So you get your training kind of specified to what you're doing and what your specialty is. And then if you've done, like Josh said, if you've done level 1, then there's a level 2 and you can move forward.
See the value in it?
I do. Avid really helps us as a building kind of keep focused on secondary, post-secondary, what's happening next, having those discussions with kids, with families, and the types of activities that they're doing with teachers are really good to promote student engagement. And so it's pretty good targeted professional development for them.
Avid is that a program that students are enrolled in, or they participate in?
Some students are enrolled in the Avid elective class. Those are the students, as I said, that might be targeted to need more support if they want to try to take honors, AP, or dual credit, but they may not necessarily be automatically qualified to be able to take them. We encourage those kids to enroll in that upper level course, and then we have them enroll in the Avid elective, which gives them an extra tutorial to kind of help them handle the coursework.
Can you put a number to or approximation to the amount of students at our high school that are involved in the Avid program in some capacity?
We generally run 2 sections of the elective per grade up until seniors. Once they get to be seniors, they tend to want to take, whether it's a college, extra college dual credit courses or things like that, or sometimes they take a shortened schedule. So we usually run 1 section of senior Avid. So, you know, if there are 20 so kids per section, that may be 40 or so per grade level. So they move through, yeah.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Steve.
Page 4, the item, the Board of Education has to consider and approve a resolution consenting to the ordinances of the city of Garden City, Kansas pertaining to parking and traffic regulations on city streets shall apply to all of the roads, streets, and driveways, the grounds of all USD 457 schools within the corporate limits of the city of Garden City, Kansas.
So this resolution actually Jennifer drafted quite some time ago, and for whatever reason, it never made its way in front of you all. And so she got with me. one of the issues that we're having, we're seeing it a lot right now at Edith Sharman. The road right in front of Edith Sharman, we actually own a portion of that road. And so we're seeing a lot of cars, a lot of drivers that are going by and passing buses when they've got the arm out. We're seeing a lot of traffic violations and safety concerns there, and then, and other schools as well. And so this would allow, Garden City Police Department to enforce the traffic laws on our private property, on our private roads. So it is to allow them to be able to enforce traffic laws on all the roads that belong to Garden City, to USD 457. So it wouldn't be just the road in Edith Sharman, it would be the loop at Garden City High School. Trying to think where else we would see that. A lot of the times when you look at like Gage, Garfield was a good example. When I was at Garfield, we always had people that would park in the handicap zones and park in places or no parking zones and slowing up traffic. That would allow the police department to come and enforce traffic laws on our private property.
Are most of our schools designed with the buses to be able to drop students curbside?
Yeah, I think most of them try to drop them away from where the main flow of traffic is. Jenny Wilson, for instance, their buses go behind the school. There's actually an alleyway back there where the only traffic that's allowed to drive through there are buses. VO and Kenneth Henderson, a lot of those schools, they pull into a separate parking lot versus the main parking lot, and they'll load and unload there with the kiddos. Garden City High School, I think, is the only one that I could think of where the buses load up actually at the front of the school.
I think a better way to ask my question would be, we don't have any schools where the kids are getting off the bus and having to cross the street to get to the school.
No,
In front of the bus.
to my knowledge, no.
Traffic.
But well, the issue with that is on return. So a lot of our schools are bus stops for other schools. And so I may go to school at Bernadine Sitz. And so I get on the bus at Bernadine Sitz and I'm getting dropped off at Edith Sharman is a good example. And mom and dad are across the street. And so I have to go across the street to get on the car with them there. So that would be, I think that's where you see it. It's not necessarily where we're picking up and unloading kiddos. They're on one side, but they will cross the street to get to their parents if at dismissal, if they're coming, and that's a bus stop.
Do we have designated crosswalks and cross people for that, or the kids just cross the street at their will?
We should have crosswalks in most of the areas, yes.
This doesn't extend into the parking lots. So in other
It would be
words,
the roadways.
So the loop around the high school, it does not go past
Correct.
the edge of.
That's my understanding. It would just be the roadways, yes.
It does say drive.
Does it say?
Yeah, it allows for parking.
Yeah, because it says, yep, you're right.
I just want to get clarification.
All roads,
there.
streets, and driveways on the grounds of USD 457. Yep.
And we've allowed it, we just have never had a memorandum of understanding for it.
Yeah.
So like a Garden City High School, we are doing this with the city.
Yeah.
We had a kid not too long ago drive backwards around the loop to get away from truancy. And that cost him about $486 from what I understand. So they'll still ticket them even though, because we invite them in to do it. This just gives them the ability not to have to be invited to serve the ticket.
I had a child at my house that got ticketed on the loop when he was in high school, so I can attest to that.
Need a motion tonight or?
If we could, that would be great.
Yeah, so private property, it's kind of a gray area, but there are some laws that can be enforced on private property without some handicap violations, fire zones, reckless driving. Those can be enforced on any private property, but everything else is as a no-go, running stop signs, speeding. Without this, the police have no authority to do anything with that. Other than those few violations, formally, it would be nice to have the ability because a lot of violations are seen, but the police can't, they know they don't have any authority to take action. So a lot of safety violations occur, especially on the loop. And, you've driven it. I've watched people blow off past people on the road or driving in the grass. There's really nothing that can be done with it without the authority from the district to allow that. So,
Hit and runs.
yeah.
So if it pertains to parking, do the police officers have the ability to search vehicles?
No, that's a traffic stuff. That's searching is different.
If we invite them to. If they're parked on our property, we can ask for the vehicle to be searched.
We have to get
Is
permits.
that at your expense though?
We don't get charged anything. Yeah.
I mean, like, that's how it is on my property, it would be at my expense. It just seems like it makes it cleaner.
Yeah.
It's just my opinion, but I would be opposed to allowing, the police to come on private property. I think from the questions I asked Josh, I think if have crosswalks, if we're doing the things that we need, safety is obviously a concern, but if we're doing everything that we need to do safety wise, I don't see the need for this improvement. I guess I differ in that, I guess not knowing that we already do some things at the high school. To me, when I read this, my first thought was the high school, and I think about, students know that they can get a ticket for speeding, they can get a ticket for, any sort of traffic violation on campus. I would hope it would incentivize them to drive safer, follow speed limit signs, and that sort of thing. And then knowing also that we have an elementary school where I guess it's a private road, and so people violate the bus sign, there's really nothing that can be done about it. Yeah. So.
James called the police department and that's what they've told him, that it's private property, so there's not a lot they can do.
Can't do anything about it.
But, and it kind of what you brought about searching cars, this doesn't have to do with that. This is traffic. A search is still, even if the school district calls and, can you search that car? The police still can't search it unless there's reasonable suspicion of some sort. They still have to follow the law. The school doesn't have the authority to give the police a right to search someone's property. The officer still has to follow the laws as they're written, It just allows the police to enforce the traffic violations that occur that right now they can't do nothing with if it's not reckless driving, parking in a fire lane, or handicap lane. Or DUI is enforceable also on private property.
So would running a stop sign on a school bus out be considered reckless driving?
No, it's not. No, it has a separate statute. No, it could if they flew by.
They're driving 90 miles an hour.
If they flew by the bus at 85 miles an hour, yeah, you could probably push the reckless driving there, but. I agree with Andy. I think, obviously I'm a little biased in my profession, but I think it's, giving the police the authority to enforce the safety for the children, that I think it's worth it.
So like if there were an accident, typically on private property, the police won't issue a citation.
No,
But-
they don't even work them.
They could now.
Yes.
So like I know someone whose vehicle got totaled on that road. And there was no citation, so it's like, then they had to sue the other people.
Sure.
Injury. How many wrecks do you think happen up there?
Yeah.
a year.
Yeah, are you talking the loop?
Uh-huh.
I would hate to guess, a lot.
20, 50?
Oh. I would say more than 50.
On our,
probably.
on our group facilities, probably closer to 100.
Yeah, with kids backing into each other and things like that.
It's a lot.
Okay, you guys willing to make a motion? Mr. President, I move to approve the resolution as presented.
To move and seconded to approve the resolution as presented. Any further discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Item H5. Board of Education is asked to consider and approve a parents as teachers training reimbursement agreement.
Yeah, so I'm gonna get out of the lane on this one. Parents as teachers, in order to be parents as teachers, person that goes out into homes for us, you have to go through a fairly expensive training. It costs us $1,700 in order to train somebody that is a parent as teacher person to go out into a house before they can go out into the house. The state requires the training. One issue that we've been running into is we'll get a person trained for parents as teachers to go out into the house, and then a month, 2 months later, they quit us and they decide they no longer want to do parents as teachers. One of the problems that causes is we've just invested $1,700 into their training for them to come in and do this profession, and then they leave us, and that's coming straight out of our parents as teachers grant budget. And it's taking a significant amount of money out of that budget for these trainings. And we've had individuals quit us after going through the training. So what we're asking is just an MOU, a memorandum of understanding, that has a repayment stair step like we do for our tuition reimbursement. However, this one just goes over the course of the year, where you can see it's stair stepped based on each month that they stay with the district. It reduces the amount that they would have to repay back to the district for that parents as teachers training. Again, you have to have this training in order to go out to the house. It's required by the state of Kansas. There are getting to be more and more requirements put on our individuals that do parents as teachers. So we're going to continue to see more and more requirements of these individuals. But those things all come at a cost, and we have to make sure that we protect ourselves with the money that we're investing in these individuals.
Is
So-
that a certified or classified?
Classified. Yeah. This is just a first read. It doesn't need to be any board action tonight. We can come back at the next board meeting if you have questions between now and then.
Do we have training reimbursements for other stuff?
We do. Yeah. This is one of the more significant training costs that we have, to be
Have
honest.
we been successful with the agreements?
Yeah, I mean, the majority of the time, like I would equate the tuition reimbursement as a training as the same thing. We don't have a lot of people that back out of those agreements. And it is a good thing to keep them kind of locked in from getting the training and going somewhere else. Parents as teachers isn't just a Garden City thing. The same with tuition reimbursement. I mean, the second somebody gets tuition reimbursement, they're more marketable on our dime. So
I guess you kind of answered my question, but it was gonna be, do you think that this training improvement will deter people from
no.
taking the job?
We've had good success filling our parents as teachers.
Yeah. Yeah, we've got a few folks in there that have been there for a long time. So.
Okay, thank you.
Board open discussions. John, you're up.
Yeah, I appreciate all the information we had tonight. Thought we had some good things on the agenda and some stuff to talk about. Our winter sports are kind of wrapping up. I'd like to say congratulations to our teams and to our individual state champions in those teams. That was pretty awesome by those two teams. And then I'd like to wish our boys and girls basketball teams, good luck this week as they continue on.
Also congratulate wrestling. We did go and watch and there was a group of parents behind us from a different school. And they were talking about how they're always impressed how Garden City comes with good sportsmanship. And not one of our kids I have ever seen throw a temper tantrum like some of those. I don't think we'd have wrestlers if that happened. But the why stuff, I kind of stand from day one. I don't believe we have to pay for their mismanagement of funds and for disservice to their donors. Good to have a recap of that, but that's where I'm at, and I don't think I'm moving.
I want to also congratulate our wrestling teams and all the individual wrestlers and just all the hard work and they put in all season long, and to see them see it culminate with state championship and a state runner-up is really great. I think just speaks to dedication and hard work of the coaches and all of the student athletes. I also, Josh, say thank you to Josh and Heather for the presentations tonight. I think what we do as a district in adopting our new ELA curriculum for the next 7 years, I think is really critical in setting course for improving student success. Moving from balanced literacy program to structured literacy, getting it right, and picking the right curriculum is really critical. And I was really pleased to hear that this is not a fast process and that this is going to take several months. I just want to say thank you in advance to all those committee members that are going to be on that committee and taking the time to get that right. So just appreciate people's time and willingness to ensure we're doing the very best we can for our students.
Yeah, first off, I don't know, this is my first meeting. I've been here with the mics, but I can tell you being on the last 2 meetings on Zoom, it was great. I could actually hear the board. You always hear the presenter, but you could never hear the board. Now with the mics, when I was online, I could hear it. It was so whoever made that decision was a good one. I agree that athletics, I'm always impressed with our athletics, no matter what sport. They always seem to represent it and represent Garden City well. So I'm proud of them. The dome is a very sticky subject. I do see value in it for the district, but I just don't know, I guess, at what cost, so. And we have a lot of irons in the fire as a district, and money is always tight, and we just have to try to be frugal with the money and make the best decision. That's it. Nathan?
Definitely appreciate Horace Good coming and presenting today as well. And, not able to attend the wrestling game, but I heard tournament, but I heard it as well. Just did want to add to that list the bowling. I know they're getting ready to go for the state championship as well here in the next week or two. I want to just wish them luck. And it might seem a little weird, but the other day I was driving behind a school bus and they did everything right. And I was just like, we often don't recognize when people do things right. And so I just want to do a shout out to everybody that's doing things right. And that just often we get calls about all the negatives and all those things. And so I just want to say I appreciate all those bus drivers doing everything right and just keeping the kids safe and just all those good things that are happening that way. So just want to say thanks to them and appreciate. I know the dome is an issue that coming in from the outside in the community, coming in, it's an interesting perspective. What's going on, and I know we're trying our best to come to resolution and appreciate the overview, but definitely have to be smart with taxpayer dollars. And so that's kind of where I stand on that as well. So anyway, that's all I've got to say.
Mark, are you still on? Do you have anything?
Can you hear me? Yeah, hey, Brandy, you're correct on the microphones. When you use those microphones from this viewpoint here, you can hear very well. The presenters you can always hear well. So I appreciate those microphones that help doing this. I'd much rather be there, but I can't be there tonight. I like the presentation coming from Horse Good. Always good to hear from the schools and see the students and get their input, their interaction, and have them present to us. Congratulations to the wrestling teams, the girls championship, the boys runners up, and all the individuals where they placed. And we got a lot of other students doing a lot of other things that don't get the recognition publicly, and a shout out to all them as well. That hey, when they're doing stuff that extracurricular activity, that's always a good thing for Garden City, USD 457 for them, for their families, and the dome. I'm kind of with Jackie on that. I know, still have an open mind. I think, but got a real problem with some of the things that have gone on, and some of the things that they're asking us to do or would like for us to do, and there's a lot of unknowns, I believe, in the cost that we don't know. So, with that, that's all.
Thank you, Robin.
I would like to echo what everyone said about the wrestling, the boys and the girls wrestling. There's a reason Paul was 6A Coach of the Year. He did a great job. And like Mark said, there are a lot of other kids that sometimes don't get as much recognition. We have a great theater program that we don't probably talk about near enough. So kudos to all of those people. Appreciated the ELA presentation. I would be interested, reach out to me. I might be willing to commit some time.
It'll work, Robin.
Well, it's important. And, you're looking at something that's a 7-year investment. You want to make sure you do it right. So it should be a good learning experience also. Every day when we come to these meetings, I pretty much figure out there's one thing I didn't know until I got here today. So I'm expecting to learn a lot this year. That's all I got.
Dr. Dominguez?
Yes, board, thank you. Board's good. Thank you for the presentation. It's always good to see our students present and represent their school well. On the literacy, the ELA, and just making sure everybody knows on the curriculum adoption, that's for the 25-26 selection, and then that implementation will be 26-27. And that will be a big one. It is important. Andy has touched on it. We're moving to structured literacy, which is different. We did as good as we could for as long as we could, and it didn't serve every student. So we're trying to do a better job with that. It's going to be important, and the literacy blueprint is important. It's going to really change a lot for Garden City, but for the state. So that's going to be important moving forward. And like I said, we've already had the TNTP trainings. The state is going to get on board with that. And so we're ahead of the curve on that. Thank you for looking at the GC courses. We already have them. Just got to keep moving forward with the academic side because we got to tend to our mind. Thank you for the roofs, Gertrude Barker and Plymel. Definitely the facilities, any kind of facilities that we have, which we have 1.5 million square feet of roofs. So we're going to have to service them and take care of them. The AVID academic side is high yield strategies for our people, for our teachers and our students. So anytime you can train people and prepare people, that's great. And parents as teachers, when we have that early childhood component and development, that's always good. Anytime we can get some growth as when we're talking about parents and teachers, we're talking about babies. We're talking about little bitty children. So developmentally, trying to move people forward. State wrestling champs, that's humongous. To win anything, design, configuration, implementation, follow through, the hard work from the students, the staff, the community support, it's huge. So the girls winning the state title, the boys finishing second, that's amazing. Bowling is this weekend, correct, Josh? Drew, this weekend. Good luck to those bowling individuals, that's Thursday, basketball still in the hunt, and we're just gonna keep moving and sports on the athletic side, that is our part. We get to see that, we get to go cheer that, we get to support that. So anytime we can win at all three of the A's, academics, the arts, and athletics, that just shows Garden City's doing well. So thank you.
All right, item J, the next board meeting will take place on Thursday, March 27th, 2025 at 5 p.m. in the board meeting room at the Educational Support Center here at 1205 Fleming Street. On to item K, executive session.
Mr. President, I move we go into executive session for 10 minutes for the purpose of having preliminary discussions about the acquisition of real property in order to protect the district's financial interests and bargaining position beginning at 8 p.m. At 8 p.m., the Board of Education reconvened in open session at 8:10 p.m. in the board meeting room. I'd like to invite Dr. Dominguez, Josh Guyman, and Drew Tone to join us in executive session.
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carried.